All right. Once again, we are live from the studios, Stockton, California. This is your program, Solutions and Answers. We have a special guest, Solutions and Answers, live and interactive, international. We have a special guest with us tonight, on this evening. He is a business strategist. He's also a coach, Christopher A. Boozer, out of the Phoenix, Arizona area. And he is I believe he's the chief. Let me see. He could be the chief. He could be the CEO. He's the big top guy over there at uh, Move Your Dreams.com. I like that. So we're going to be here for about 30 minutes. You're welcome to ask any questions as we begin to share, and we want to kind of highlight some of the insights that Christopher is going to be sharing with us in the broadcast. Somewhere I'll get in there and I'll put a proverb in there because I always do. So, create the extraordinary life. Christopher I consider him a teacher. He's a coach. And he's got something really interesting that caught my attention on his website as I was doing a little bit of research. But I know that it wasn't always this good. It didn't start out this good all at the top. I'm not saying that he's at the top yet, but it seems like life is a lot differently today. The ability to create things previously thought impossible.
Right.
I like that. That's mentioned on your website.
Yes.
So now let's go back, because I definitely want you to share a little bit. By the way, good evening, Jim. Welcome to the broadcast. I want you to share. I know that it wasn't always this way. I want you to go back a little bit and just share.
All right. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on the show. I really do appreciate it. You having a similar vision as myself, or a same vision, to be able to help and really inspire people. And the name of the website is Move Dreams, because it's about moving your dreams into reality. So that's where that comes from. The sharing piece, and you are 100% correct. Things have not always been as peaceful and joyous as they are now. I have gone through a few self-inflicted things, and some that are, just generationally exposed to because of the history in this country and what our families had to go through. I'm talking about the slave culture that was implemented, that some people really believe is the Black culture, and it revolves around, silence, abuse, and it got to a point to where I suffered some abuse when I was younger. I was molested. There were times where I was, physically beaten, but I started, being involved with ladies earlier than I should. And at the age of 15, I became a father. Well, that was not an easy life. Along with all the other things I was doing, that was like my way of trying to mask the hurt that was already there, seeking this feeling in, another person. But it didn't cure the hurt, and it only added more. So just imagine being 15, and then when you're 16, working a job, going to school, still playing sport, and taking care of your child. So I don't have a lot of sympathy for people who complain. It's like I don't have a lot of sympathy. I understand we all have our challenges, and I have a heart to help people. But the reason I say no sympathy is because the only reason, after going through everything I've gone through, the only reason I'm allowed to go through those things is because I'm equipped to handle those things. So sympathy gives a person a crutch and stops them from relying on themselves. But in this process, I ended up getting to prior to that, me having the daughter, I was trying to kill myself. And it became a blessing by having my daughter, because she gave me a reason to live. And I was like, okay, well, I don't care about myself, but she didn't ask to be here, so I'll at least go ahead and live my life. Mm-hmm. I ended up going to college, graduating, coming back, taking care of my baby girl, thinking that, all right, I'm doing what I'm supposed to. One day I go to pick her up from school when she's 9. She's not there. The after school lady doesn't know where she is. I'm searching for her for hours. I'm terrified. finally get a call from her mother that says, "Oh, you don't give me enough money." I'm like, "She lives with me. I don't ask you for anything. Why would I give you anything?" Well, it was using my daughter as a pawn. And I had questions if I was the father. And when she did that, I was like, well, if we're going to go to the court, I'm going to find out everything. And had a DNA test, and it came back as a 0% probability that the child was mine. You talk about 11 years. So she was 9, and then I couldn't see her for over a year because, I wasn't on the birth certificate, things like that. And then when I finally got a chance to have the test, it crushed me. I mean, I was completely numb, and I went into a depression. And that depression culminated November 23rd, 2009, when I put my gun to my head to take my life. And at that moment, I don't know what people's beliefs are, but I know with 100% certainty, there is something that is greater that spoke to me and said, as I'm compressing the trigger, and I had a HK USB subcompact 40 caliber. So there is no safety. There is no, oh, you have to pull really hard. It has a really light trigger. And I was able to compress it, I remember, but still hear the voice and say, call your mother. And I was able to stop. And my mother and I didn't talk about, she traveled, and she was living in another state at that time. And she was traveling around the world also. So she would get back to me, but it was rare that if ever she would pick up, when I would call. This time she picks up on the first ring. And in that moment, I was shook because I'm thinking I'm just going to leave a message for her and just say, hey, I love you. I'm going to take my life. But, most mothers don't get a chance to hear from their child before they go. But at least be able to play this and listen and know that I love you. That was my intent. But she said, hey, and I was like, when she answered, and I was like, I love you. And she was like, I love you too. What's going on? I said, nothing, just know I love you. And she was like, okay, I love you. I was like, nothing, just not. She said, talk to me. And I was like, look, I'm not being manipulative, conniving, or trifling. I said, I'm going to kill myself, but I at least want to call you and tell you I love you. And she said, what is it that you want? And in that moment, I was thinking, didn't you just hear me? Like, I just told her I'm going to kill myself. Like, I don't care. I'm done. She said, you've always tried to help other people, but you've never gone after what you really want. And at that moment, I was like, look, I wanted to go to Thunderbird for grad school, but I couldn't. My student loans are defaulted because I was in the depression. My house almost got foreclosed. Like, it was just terrible. Like, everything was gone. And she said, look, you can always come back to killing yourself. And when she said that to me, I was like, wow. I said, that's a good ass point. I said, I can't come back to killing myself. And I made up my mind. I said, I'm going to go after this one thing that I want with everything that I have. And I heard someone say to write it down. So I wrote down, I'm so happy and grateful that I'm a graduate of Thunderbird School of Global Management, April 29, 2011. I would see it, speak it, visualize it, and feel it over and over. November 28th, I went to the school, Thunderbird, and I talked to the dean of admissions. I said, I want to be here. And he said, oh, yeah, we can see about getting you in next year because enrollment ended November 30th. Well, it's the #1 international business school in the world. If you don't get in you have the 3 different times to submit your application. Generally, if you submit in the 3rd, you're not going to get in because they've already decided who they're going to accept unless you're just a rock star. Well, when you have nothing to lose, you don't care about the obstacles. You don't even consider the obstacles. So he said, yeah, we can get you here sometime. I said, no, I want to be here now. I said, but I haven't done my GMAT, my application, my letter of recommendations, or my essay. He looked at me crazy. Those things normally take 6 months to a year to get done, depending on how a person works. But he said, how soon can you get it done? I said, give me 2 weeks. And it felt like something else spoke out of me. And I was like, why did I say 2 weeks? Well, that was November 28th, December 15th, he called me, said, I want to call you personally and tell you congratulations. And I'm like, oh my God, I got accepted. This is amazing. And I contacted my mother and I said, I said, whoa, but this is $100,000. I don't have that money. I can't afford it. She said, just go. You can always come back to killing yourself. And that really was the mindset. And normally you go the first 2 weeks of school, if you haven't paid, that drop ad period comes, you're done. I went the entire first semester without paying, getting calls. Where's the money? I was like, oh, it's on the way. It's on the way. And I'm so happy and grateful. I'm graduated at Thunderbird School of Global Management. I'd feel it. I'd see it. And I was just blown away by everything ended up working. Not only did I graduate April 29, 2011 through a series of miraculous events, but I know about the third verse in the national anthem now, where it says, neither the hireling nor the saved shall find rest but for the grave. But I was honored with singing the national anthem at our graduation that was broadcast around the world. So the story of a person who said, okay, I have nothing to lose. I'm going to go after everything I want. And if it doesn't work, oh, well, I tried and I'll just take my life and at least I can go in peace. But for me to start seeing things working out, and then I discovered a mentor who was able to direct me to the principles that I used without realizing it. There's a 1925 version of the book, The Laws of Success by Napoleon Hill. Everyone should have that book. Everyone should study that book, because every book after that where we hear self-help, personal development, it all started, like, it seems like there, with outlining the 15 principles that you need in order to be successful. The very first one is like a definite chief aim. So you have to have the thing you're going after. So by having that singular goal, that singular vision, then everything else around me was able to come together and open doors. And through this process, now I have committed to like helping other people to create the life that they are worthy of. And I've had people who are suicidal, people who've had individuals kill themselves in front of themselves. I've had people who 5-year-old child found their dad's gun, shot themselves in the head and killed them, and the mom found them. And I've been able to help them to the point where all of them are able to say they're happier now than they've ever been in their life, even though they've been through some of the most unbelievable tragedies. And the experience that I have myself. So I learned a long time ago, when you're aware of a problem, it's your responsibility to do something about it. And since I'm aware of the way to help people who are hurting, who feel hopeless, who feel helpless, like, if I don't do anything, I'm more at fault than anyone else.
Yeah, that's true. What you just said, that is correct. Now, there's a couple of things that I want to get back to, especially that your grandma said something to you when you had that gun.
And that was my mother.
Your mother. She had.
Yeah.
So I want to get back to that, but we got a question here, and I want to make sure that. Let me see if Christopher, would you say that the ship doesn't sail in a partnership? Do you avoid business partnership because of more negative circumstances versus positive? And I don't know if that's, let me see. There's another question.
Mm-hmm. I can answer that one, if you don't mind.
Go ahead, Chris.
All right. So when you're talking about a partnership, the most important thing that we talked about is, once again, that singular vision. That's why you have organizations, they'll have the mission statement, because everyone has to be bought in, believing in this singular goal. And if you have a partnership where you don't have individuals that have the same mindset, that are moving in the same direction, then you may see, some things happen, but ultimately you will never be able to attain true success. So having, even when you think of a marriage or a relationship, when you have people that are working together in harmony, you can have obstacles that come to you and you're able to navigate them fairly easily. But if you have a person where there's a contentious relationship and you're trying to navigate through things, it seems like the challenges become, exacerbated. So having a partner that you all are truly in alignment with, or that you're truly in alignment with, is the most important thing. If you're going to have a partner to your company or your organization or individual success, you have to have a singular vision.
Now, I want to get back to the conversation we were having earlier. Your mom. Why did I hear grandma? I don't know.
It's okay.
But right. Your mom said something. She asked you a question, Christopher.
Right.
While you were kind of down and out. Right. You were going through your, of course, if you look at your life right now, we all have challenges, but if you look at your life right now, it's a lot different.
It is.
She asked you a question. Isn't that what, over the phone?
Yes, it was over the phone.
She asked you a question. And the reason why I bring that up is because we underestimate the power of questions.
Yes.
We
Yes.
we underestimate the power of a simple question. Even in your field, your mission, and of course, we get better. We get better asking. I know I have to get better asking. Sometimes I've been on this broadcast and I just go through mistakes, and I have a lot of confidence. That's one thing that I have. I admit I will look like a fool sometimes because of the confidence that I have. But I recognize, I go back and I reflect and I say, well, you got to change this. And, we fine tune. We fine tune like you've been doing with your life mission.
Absolutely.
There. So she asked you that question, something triggered in your mind at that point. I mean,
Right.
is that the first, that's not the first time that you've even thought about putting something in your head?
No, when I was a teenager, I used to sleep with a gun under my pillow with my hand on it. And because I was reared in a very religious home, like I was even a minister, and my father was a pastor, my mom was a minister, and suicide is, an unforgivable sin as it's taught. So the way my mind rationalized it was, well, if the gun goes off while I'm sleeping, I didn't technically do it, so I can still get into heaven. Like that was how my brain rationalized doing those things. So yeah, that was not the first time I thought about taking my life.
What happened when what happened immediately after that phone call that you had with was that the last time that an incident like that triggered? Because some people don't make it through that.
Yeah, no,
Many
and
don't. Many don't. There's a
you're
small
right.
percentage of people that let me see if I'm correct. There's a number. There's so many people that attempt suicide. They don't for God's grace, they get brought back. It's like we know. It's like, why are we here? I'm like, sometimes I look at myself in the mirror and I say, honestly, it's like I have to know my purpose.
Yes,
For me to
absolutely.
been through what I've been through, you look at yourself in the mirror. I do something. I do something. I talk to myself in front of the mirror a lot. It's a life hack that I share.
That's very wise. Very absolutely.
And I just remind myself, that man, the stuff that we've been through, and we have friends. I'm sure you have friends that are no longer here.
Yes. Well, interestingly enough, when I was younger, my uncle attempted suicide, shot himself in the face, and he survived, but his face is deformed now. So that was something that as a child, you're like, wow, that played in my mind. Like, if I'm going to do it, I need to make sure I do it the right way so I don't make a mistake, because I don't want to look like that. I don't want to make problems worse trying to get away from problems. That's how my young mind worked. So,
and you grew up in the Phoenix area. Is that where you originally grew up?
Yes. What was South Phoenix, which was very different from the South Phoenix now.
Do you have a lot of brothers and sisters?
I have one brother, 3 sisters. Yeah.
Are they still all currently living?
They are. Yes. We're fortunate.
Now, what about your parents?
Both of my parents are still alive. Yes. Yeah.
What was it like when you were like 7 years of age?
Well, we were living in a very, heavily gang saturated neighborhood. And my father, when I was 7, decided to move me away into a newer development of homes still in South Phoenix to get us away from that. But he moved us into the area for the rival gang. So it was right. And my name was one that our last name was known because I had a bunch of cousins that were involved in, even my brother and sister were in gangs. So it was a very interesting upbringing. I had to fight. I had to, run. I've had guns put on me, you name it.
Now, what about your parents? Were they Were they well off? Did they do very well? Did they struggle also raising you guys? And
our parents, they were, I would say, true middle class for a while.
yeah.
And then we ended up being, on government assistance. So
Yeah.
my father, he was a hardworking man. He worked as a sky cap. A lot of people nowadays don't know what a sky cap is, but the individuals that used to work curbs at the airport, taking bags, like busing their behind, like that was him. But he did that every single day to provide for our family. My mother, she worked at Intel and eventually went back to college and then became a teacher. And now she has her doctorate degree. So she was one that was willing to say, you know what, let me choose the status quo. She's from Louisiana. She talks about being integrated in her schools, being homeless as well. So all of these things that she's gone through and has been able to achieve what she has also been a light for us to see, okay, challenge the status quo. Just because they say it's a fact doesn't mean it's true.
What inspired you to create a website and start thinking about coaching and helping other people?
Well, you asked the question earlier, was like November 23rd, 2009, the last time I ever thought about taking my life. It was because my mindset went into, I'm going after this one thing. If this one thing does not work, I'm going to kill myself. If it does work, then I'll just use this for the rest of my life. Okay, if it works in this situation, let's see if it works in the next. And when it worked in the next, okay, if it works in that situation, let me see if it works in the next. And I did that. I said, okay, let me see if it'll work with other people. And as it worked with other people, I was like, whoa, like I am aware of something that can help people. And it wasn't like me saying, all right, I'm going to go ahead and, like now get into coaching. I was ironing my clothes one day. And I actually have it on YouTube. It's like a poem, like I want to move something. And it just was an urge. And I just pressed what I said, I want to move something. I'm not just talking about being here and existing. I'm talking about taking what's been twisted and untwisting it. Like it was just like, I want to move something. I want to do something. And that's where move your dreams comes from. Inside of it, I said, I want to help people move their dreams into reality, and it wasn't like I was like, oh, let me write this out. Let me plan it. It was just an urge that came up out of me. And that's when you say purpose. I believe before I came to this planet, this life, it was like, okay, I'm going to choose to do this. And I finally became aware and receptive enough that it could flow out of me. And then I had to trust and walk faithfully so that everything else could come to my awareness. Because if I'm completely ignorant of something and I don't even know what to look for, I have to trust that it'll be brought to me. And each time I'm giving an urge, an unction, or a directive to act on that, trusting and believing that the next urge, unction, or directive will be there. And that's really how I started living my life. It wasn't like, oh, let's make a 10-year plan. It's just, you know what? I'm going to trust the God in me, creator in me, the vision in me, whatever is inside of me. And that's the thing that has kept me alive to this day. So I know what the other side looks like. The other side looks like me wanting to take my life. This side looks like me wanting to help other people improve their lives. It's a brainer which one I'm gonna keep going with. So that's really why it was the last time that I ever thought about it, because there have still been tough times, but the tough times don't come to me in a point to where I'm hopeless. Now when I see them, I'm like, okay, it worked before. All right, let's go. Let's jump. Like I actually went skydiving because I wanted to like test that urge. I've been scuba diving, skydiving, whitewater rafting, all, because I was like, let me test. I'm gonna go do some of these things that people think are nutty, but I'm gonna say, do I feel at peace? If I feel at peace, I'm gonna go. And I'm here, so you can tell that I survived.
Braver than me, I'll tell you that much when it comes to that.
But it sounds a little, strange, but I really was honing my receptiveness. I was honing my sensitivity to that voice inside of me. But yeah, persistence absolutely did pay off.
Um, let me see. I know that Jim has been asking. We'll get Jim. We'll get to your question here. I gotta ask, um, Chris. Do you feel? I don't. This might sound like a funny question, but do you feel like through everything that you've been through and everything that you're still going through, because this is a life journey. You said,
It is.
that you've got something inside you that you're working on, and it's real. It's something that's
Right.
real. It's not tangible, but that's what drives you. That's what keeps you going. And maybe others don't even believe in you, right? Maybe they don't
Right.
see it. It could be that profound, but yet, and you're still going forward. Do you believe that you have a superpower? Or do you believe in that, or do you think about that kind of stuff like that?
Well, I've done quite a bit of studying, and the information that I've discovered helped me to realize that what we deem as superpower comes from whatever title people want to give it: God, universe, energy, ether, whatever term they want to use. And at the same time, everything is just energy: God, the universe, or whatever term you want to use. So if that entity, being, creator, has performed super things or miraculous things or amazing things previously, I am made of that same substance. How can I not believe I have superpowers?
That's an excellent answer. I didn't know any of these things, and
Right.
one thing that has helped me, and I want to welcome everybody that's here. We've got a few guests. We've got the invisible men and the invisible women. By the way, this is Santos. This is uh, your results coach out of Stockton, California, Santos Rolon Jr. I might have not even introduced myself. Sometimes I get a little bit too excited and I make mistakes. See, you can make mistakes and still be a podcaster and a YouTuber. I'm
Right.
really enjoying the conversation, learning a lot here, and learning a lot about ourselves because we don't give ourselves enough credit. And I truly
Right.
believe that we can easily do things to help ourselves. Yes, we can. If especially if you spend a lot of time. I've always been a little person. I ran the streets uh, with blacks, with whites. That's what I grew up with, right? I grew up with
Right.
more. In fact, I grew up with more. Let me see, uh, Puerto Ricans and blacks, really, and then there was a few
Okay.
whites. But when you're a little kid, you're out there, and of course, I never thought about superpowers. I never thought about any of these things. You have an imagination, but then when you get older,
Yeah.
you lose that imagination. And I have found that the real successful people that are out there making things happen, they're the ones with the biggest imaginations. They're like little kids.
Absolutely.
And sometimes
Absolutely.
they act like little kids but it's just because we're human. Like I think about Elon Musk, and anyhow, let me get off of that because I want to make sure that we focus on Chris
No,
because
not
this
a
is
word. And
this is
Christopher,
our time.
it's
This is our time, right? It is
yes, sir.
about Chris, a little bit about
Christopher.
Santos, but it's about the audience. It's about us helping and sharing.
Yeah.
Um, let me see Chris
Oh, and
Laura says, yeah,
yeah,
Laura.
I want to make sure everyone knows I actually don't shorten my name. I'm one of the people that like the full thing, so I go by Christopher. So, I appreciate the the understanding.
Christopher.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and let me see. There was one more. Let me see, Jim. I know we're running close to the end of the hour here. Um, I think we got this one. Didn't we get this one already? If you kill yourself, do you feel that there are no insignificant part in life? Do you get emotional when life challenges you, even though you almost killed yourself? I think you kind of answered
Do,
that, or you want to look at that again?
um,
Take a look at that.
no, I'm not going to say there are no significant challenges, but I look at it differently. Instead of looking at things as holding me back, I look at it with this analogy. When I go into a gym, if I hire the best trainer in the world, The best trainer in the world is going to make sure there are some days that I hate them. There are some days that I dread going into the gym, but I'm so committed to it. I'm going to keep going. And that day that I dread going in, or I may be too tired after the workout's finished, I'm going to feel amazing, because the process of going to this trainer isn't just about being made miserable. It's developing something in me that I say I want. So I look at the challenges in life in the same way. Everything that has come to me has come as a blessing to me, so that I can develop something in me, so that that gift that is in me, that superpower is in me, can be honed, can be developed, and really can be perfected, so that I'm able to bless as many people as possible. So, yeah, I mean, there are times where I get emotional, and I'm learning how to be more at peace as I've incorporated meditation, as I've incorporated affirmation, as I incorporated mirror work, as you were saying that you do. Like, those things have helped me to really create like the life that I now live. When you start writing things down, visualizing it, feeling it, and then seeing those things come to fruition in a way that you never could anticipate it, you start saying, okay, this is a little creepy, you know? So that's when you're like, okay, if it worked in that one, let me try it here, and let me try. And then when it works in all kinds of situations, you're like, whoa, so this is how I'm supposed to live. And that's why I said that when I went skydiving, when they said, all right, I rode up in the plane with the door. I'm sitting right next to the door that's open. And I'm like, when have I have never been, and I know Will Smith talked about it, but I rode up the entire way, just looking at the ground and all around the city and the sky. And I wasn't terrified. I was at peace. And then we're like, all right, let's go. I went, I was like, all right. I stepped out and my right leg like tightened up. I said, man, stop that. Let's go. I'm just sitting there on the wing. And he said, all right, I'm going to give you a countdown. Hey, whenever you're ready to go. I'm not worried, because I felt at peace. And then when we went, it was the most amazing feeling I've ever experienced. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. The gentleman thought, he was like, okay. He said, I got a little scared when you started screaming. He said, I thought you were going to freak out. I was like, no, this is amazing. He said, do you want to fly it? I was like, absolutely. So when I pulled and I'm going to the right and I feel the G-force, I'm like, oh, this is amazing. Then the other direction. Now, the reason I'm describing it this way is because everything that I'm enjoying, at one time, that would have terrified me. That would have been something if somebody said, imagine just free falling in the sky. No. But here I am, free falling in the sky, talking about, oh, this is amazing. Which shifted. This, like, the act never changed. My mentality changed.
It's interesting, something that you just said. You're also doing that in other areas of your life.
Absolutely.
You're boarding the plane and you're jumping off in other areas of your life, figuratively speaking. And in fact, I was just thinking that, you put a gun to your head.
Right.
The thought of suicide, getting to that fork in the road, that's a very, very, that's an experience. It's a very frightening experience. So could it be that, I don't know, maybe you've already been there, you're jumping off of airplanes. Obviously, you have a gift, you have an ability, you have a confidence about yourself, and you just keep building that. And you're gonna keep building that. I can tell. You're a force to be reckoned with. I can tell that by the things that you're saying. And I can relate to a lot of what you're saying, because it's a dynamo. In fact, there's a Greek word. I believe the Greek word is called dunamis. It comes from the Bible. And it's something that we all have. It's dynamo, dunamis. Right. And until you begin to experience that in your own life, you want to share that with other people. You want to try to express it. I've got my books. I've written my books and all of this stuff. But is it really coming out? I know you've got a book coming out. Believe. Yes. We're going to be working on that.
Absolutely.
Dynamo. And it's amazing when you can harness that and then bring it into the life of another person, because really what we're trying to do is we're trying to share experiences, right? Man, if like there's times I'm sure you feel this so powerful from either a mirror talk or a journal or an affirmation that
Yes.
you repeated to yourself. And man, if I could just pass this on right now, you
Right.
get on a video or you do something, uh, that's the challenge, is being able to capture those moments and stretching them out and putting them in seeds
Right.
and sending them out. However, that's why I always say, this program here may seem a little insignificant to some people. I personally believe that this program here is a divine appointment. There's
Absolutely.
been people from around the world that have come through here and they've called me and they've said, Santos, so that's why I don't underestimate this conversation that we're having, your presence here and our guests. Some might be a partner. Well, I don't know if they're partners, but I know they're guests. So never underestimate what we're doing. And so I'm excited, man. I'm excited for you. I'm
I
excited
appreciate
for
that.
this podcast. And wow.
Yeah. Now you said
Perfect.
something when you were talking about doing like taking this in every day of my life. That's how I live now. It literally is one of those things. If I do not feel at peace, I don't do it. I don't care what, statistics say. I don't care what the law says. Like, I'm so serious. If I do not feel at peace with it, I'm not doing it.
That's
And
wow.
and I live that way. I'll whatever the outcome is, accept it. But I'm accepting what I have chosen to trust in me, because that voice, that leading, that desire inside of me is the reason that I'm alive. And if I'm not willing to give it that much credibility that it saved my life, that it will also lead me in this next situation, then it's a slap in its face, whether it's God, whether it's, our higher selves, whatever it is, our calling, our vision, our superpower, whatever that, someone would call it. So yeah, that's how I live every day.
Yeah, it's like, I've noticed, in fact, I've been saying this to myself more and more, that you have to focus on your mission. You have to,
Yeah.
and we talked about Napoleon Hill, what
Yes.
the greatest principle is, that intense focus. It's
Yes.
a process. It's a process.
Yes.
Not everybody can get there immediately. It is a process, because the brain is like a muscle that has to be worked. And
Right.
and if you don't work it, obviously it atrophies. Man, I'm trying to get back to my thought here. I just got distracted a little bit. We were talking about Napoleon Hill and the persistence of the imagination and the thought, and just holding on to that. And that's what drives you. That's what
Yes.
needs to drive you. A lot of people don't have peace, Christopher.
Right.
Sadly, a lot of people don't have peace. A
Right.
lot of people walk around trying to show that they have peace, but unfortunately, they don't have it, because they're just not. They have to come to that place where they're so focused on their mission, on their life mission, not the job, not their daughter, not their spouse, but their life mission, and then everything else falls in place. Is that how you feel? It's like you've got this internal drive that almost blinds you to a lot of stuff around you, because those things aren't necessary for your. And sometimes you do make a decision and you realize that you shouldn't have done that. That cost you. That was an expensive mistake you just made, because that didn't feed your life mission. You thought it did. You got blinded for some reason. You got something captivated you. We have to be careful for other people. There's a lot of gurus out there that are very good at what they do. And I'm
Hmm.
telling you, they can sell you things on the internet. They can sell you philosophies. They can even put you in an environment that is not conducive to any growth, but to
Well,
confusion. And I'm going to share something here. And
yeah.
I speak this of truth, because I've been ripped off. I've been burned through my journey. I had a family member that just called me recently, very close family member. $30,000 over the last 2 weeks was just taken. I mean, these individuals had this family member so convinced, so scared, she was actually going to several banks, putting money in envelopes and sending it away. This is the kind of stuff that we're facing. If you have a business, you have a mission, you have a life mission, there's people out there. We have a job to do, obviously. We're planting seeds. We're digital farmers. We
Right.
have to plant our seed, but we have to be very, very alert. When we were younger, running around and, back then it's a little bit innocent, but we still had to protect ourselves from the body or from the others, Sometimes they weren't friends. They would come in as a friend. And it's the same thing today in life. We have to guard that vision, that dream that you have inside yourself. You have to really guard it. You have to protect it. It's a sacred thing that you have. And if you don't have it, if you don't have that driving you yet, listen to what we're sharing here. You can always take a visit to Christopher there, the website. He might be able to give you some more insight into how you could begin to find this fire, because that if we don't have that fire, it's hard for us to go forward.
Well, the first thing is, like, we've all had situations where we were like, I knew I should have done it and I didn't. And I'm like, dang it. Or instances where I knew I shouldn't have, and then I went ahead, and you're like, man. So we've had those moments where we should have done something and we didn't. And we've had those moments where we shouldn't have done it and we, like that we shouldn't have and we did it, and we should have and we didn't. So in those instances, we know that voice. Just reflect back on those moments where you didn't listen to it, or you did listen to it and you're like, oh, I'm glad I listened. Those voices, like I'll tell you, on April 1st, 1996, I was coming home by 2 a.m. A friend comes up and says, a close friend of mine was murdered. And April 1st is April Fool's Day. And I'm like, look, man, that's not funny. Don't even play like that. And they were like, nah, man, Boozer, for real. He got, and I was like, man, that's not funny. And I got upset. And he's like, Boozer, I'm serious. And that just broke my heart, because I'm thinking about our times together, how we were laughing, hanging out, and having a good time. And like, I'd never have that again. Thinking about his mom, he felt pop. And then I'm sitting on the edge of my bed, just angry. And I'm like, we got to get these dudes. We got to do something. And I don't know who did it or what, but I hear a voice say, lay back. And I was like, how am I going to lay back? My homeboy just got killed. And it was like, can you change it? And it was the most calm and peaceful voice I've ever heard in my life. And I was like, no. They said, so just relax and lay back. And I thought about it and I was like, all right. And as soon as I laid back, a bullet flew right where my head was. It was a stray bullet. So I wouldn't have even been able to hear it and to duck or anything like that. Yes. Yes. So my father called the police and they went ahead and checked everything. And they were like, is your son involved in any gangs? Like, is this a hit? And he was like, no, he's not involved, because he had already moved me away from that area. But the idea of listening to that voice, that moment, had I not listened to that still, quiet voice, chances are I'd be dead. So when it came to me hearing the call your mother, that was the same voice. So now that I'm familiar with the voice, now that I'm familiar with that urge, it's easier to be guided.
Yeah. I call it becoming alpha. Do you consider that?
Yeah, the one, the all,
Yeah.
Like when you say alpha, what are you referring to?
Yeah.
The beginning? When you're saying alpha, how are you, I guess?
Well, when I say alpha, like alpha, just being superior at your craft, being, working on your conversation, working on your thoughts, working on your dress code, working on your life mission, and all of these areas. I believe that we can have a superior, right, and excellence there. Maybe not according to the standards of other people, but to the standards where we know where we should be at. That's alpha. Superior, ability, and we all have this. In fact, I heard
Right.
this. I heard this the other day that anything that exists in the world, whether it's a singer, a rapper, a construction worker, a builder, any one of those abilities can be learned. I used to think that it's in the genes that everybody has a special gift. We all have the ability. We all have those abilities.
Right.
But if you catch it early on in life, you can develop it a lot faster than most. For me, I'm a late bloomer. I hit rock bottom in 2014, which was my blessing. Hitting rock
Yes.
bottom was my blessing in 2014 at 47 years of age. I know people that are very successful. They were in their 16, 17, 18 years of age, and today they're doing very well. I didn't meet them back then. I've met them recently, on the internet, YouTube or whatever. So this is all very interesting, man. All of these things that we're discussing here, and where we go from here. We're almost done.
Okay, if I may,
broadcast, but I want to give you the last words. I want to make sure that you get the last words here. There was a proverb that I wanted to read, and I'm going to read it here. Let me get it in there because I usually read the proverb. This is an interesting proverb. Again, I'm not a church person. I don't attend church, but I do read the King James Bible. I read a proverb, and this is rather an interesting verse because it says, if you shall confess with your mouth the Lord Jesus and believe in your heart, God hath raised him from the dead. Now, this isn't easy pickings here. Thou shalt be saved. It says, for with heart man believeth unto righteousness, but with the mouth confession is made unto salvation. Now, that is spiritual work. That's God, the Creator's work. But there's a lot of stuff that we can draw out of that while we're alive. Confession, using the tools that we have, the heart, the mind, the subconscious, the mouth. And I call this actually mind, mouth, power congruency. When we learn to have our thoughts and our words in congruency with our plans, we become a very dynamic individual. By the way, you're in the middle of my feed. We'll get it. We're almost done. So anyhow, I don't attend church. I used to, I've been involved in church, and I've been involved in a rehab center. I was in a rehab center for almost 3.5 years. I can tell you stories about that. A church rehab in the Bay Area, maybe some other time. But there's the proverb for today. So let's turn on our belief. We're almost done with the broadcast. We're going to give Christopher here the last words. Call to action, if you will. Right. We have to leave with something here. Something here. Let's not just come here. We can be here like a bump on the log. That's not good enough, my friends, partners, guests. We have to take action. There's got to be something that you can walk away with from this broadcast. You can also visit the website here. You're welcome to visit my website. I don't know if you have any I'm offering a free strategy, a 45-minute discovery strategy session, completely free. And I don't know if you have anything that you do like that from your website, but I'm going to give you the last words here, call to action.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And I want to address motorized bicycles. As Christopher, if you have standards, is it okay to unleash anger at unsatisfactory situations so long as it moves you forward? I'll tell you this. Anger is, think of it this way, any emotion as an energy source. Now, you can allow that energy source to control you, or you can control and direct that energy source. Now, you said to unleash the anger. I will say the way you unleash it is into your calling, into your purpose, into your passion with gratitude. Because if we're looking at everything he just said about your thoughts and your emotions, and there's actually a passage in the Bible where it talks about if you believe in your heart, you can say to this mountain, be removed. And if you do not doubt, it will be moved. Well, Greg Braden did research, and he found in the original text, there were two words that were actually removed: thoughts and emotions. When your thoughts and emotions are in alignment, you can say to this mountain, be ye removed. So everything that you're saying, that brain-heart coherence, that's another thing that Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about. Your thoughts and your emotions have to be in alignment. So when you have things that come to you to try to get you enraged, it's to take your thoughts and your emotion and move it away from your goal and your focus. So if you're trying to move forward, but you have someone tugging you from the back and you turn your body, well, it's delaying your arrival at what you want. But if you look at those distractions that are trying to get you to become enraged, it's saying, that's a sign that I'm close. I need to focus even more. I need to take this energy to lead me into what I am looking for, what I'm expecting, and be grateful for that, keeping your thoughts and your emotion, your visualization all in alignment with the final manifestation. Don't worry about the how. Like, one of the acronyms I have in my book is like how. When you're saying, oh, how, it's literally means you're holding on to worry, because you're never going to be able to figure out how. So with each and every one of us, when we have that unction, that leading that we believe that we truly desire, write it down. Once you write it down, we were talking about mirror, put it on the mirror, speak it, visualize it, see it, and feel it being done. Express gratitude for it already. And what you will see is the people, situations, circumstances, and events will be brought to you so that you're able to accomplish that thing much more easily than you ever imagined. The one thing that I tell people is the life of your dreams is easier to accomplish than the life you're currently living. And people don't understand that. I said, that's because you've never been taught the principles. The reason it takes people so long to be able to step into this way of thinking in life is because we're intentionally programmed the total opposite of how we're supposed to live. So for each person that's here, if you email me the letter C Boozer, so CBOOZER at moveyourdreams.com. If you email me, I will set up a time for us to have one-on-one so that we can go over the questions that will help you to find that purpose. And then once we identify what that purpose is, to show you how to pursue that purpose. And then to show you how to reframe what tries to come across as fear is really excitement. Like that adrenaline rush. If we frame it the improper way, then we get terrified and we become frozen. But if we look at it like, this is the big stage. This is what I've always wanted. Yeah, a lot of eyeballs on me, but I'm ready. I'm prepared. I've been putting in the work. It moves from fear going down your spine to chills coming out your flesh. So each and every one of you, cboozer at moveyourdreams.com. You send me the email, send me a way to, call you times that are best for you. And we will set up a complimentary session so that we're able to help you so that you're able to move your dreams into reality. If you love yourself enough to do it.
Thank you for sharing with us, Christopher. And I want to thank all our guests, Herbie, Mac. I know it's late.
How you doing, Herbie?
Late over there in Phoenix, Arizona, too. I believe it's getting late there. Mark, Laura, Jim, we hope that you've gotten something out of this broadcast. Questions. I appreciate you asking questions, Jim. And there was a few others that didn't show. I know we get the invisible men and the invisible women. I want to make sure that I acknowledge you too. And we're going to be back here again Sunday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We're going to actually have a karaoke edition of Solutions and Answers next week, I believe on the 25th. Yes. So I'll be singing. You can laugh at me all you want. We'll have a few other guests. I don't know. Jury might be sharing her music. And I believe Christopher has something to do with music too. So we're going to be doing this once a month. We want to just open this up, break the monotony. We do a lot of teaching. We do a lot of sharing. testimonials and stuff like that. I want to have an hour of just music and sharing and just a fun time of whatever, that's going to be on the 25th. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. Anybody I believe I can have up to 10 guests on this broadcast. So we will have a few. I know that will be singing. I'm kind of dragging them into the broadcast. So with that said, I want to thank each and every one of you. It's been an honor and a privilege to have Christopher A. Boozer with us tonight.
Yes,
and the rest of
the
you.
feeling's mutual.
I will see you guys at the top on the inside on my very next one, making every day super fantastic, terrific, and over the top.